Hello, everyone. This is Greg, your host of Goddamn Gamecube, and this is Season 4. Follow Goddamn Gamecube on social for updates on the show, and subscribe to us on YouTube for bonus video content. Thank you, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Goddamn Gamecube. Greg and Riley are your hosts today. Nick the intern is with us as well. And today, we're going to be talking about Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. And so when I was looking, at this title and sort of gathering my notes, I kept looking at the title of this game. I said, wait, what the fuck is this called? I'm like, is revenge, is that a word?
It is not.
It is not. Well, so before I kick it to Riley, I would like to quote a friend of the show who goes by Big Red. And so I was hanging out with Big Red about a month or two ago when I was playing this game for the first time. And I said to him, I don't know if I like this game. And he said to me, dude, you're not supposed to like it. So we're going to start there. Riley, kick it off. This is a very interesting game to talk about. Go ahead.
Sure thing. Okay, so Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is a 2013 action hack and slash game developed by Platinum Games and published by Konami. Platinum Games responsible for Bayonetta, a couple other, DMC, that kind of stuff. I wanted to actually ask right off the bat, this is the only game I know of where the entire concept is based around directional cutting. Do you know of any other games where that's a thing?
That's a great question.
What is it?
It sucks. It's Skyward Sword.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That works. That's
Good
more
point.
motion, but still.
Because you have to swing the sword in certain directions to kill stuff.
And what was that
True.
game? Red Steel?
With the Wii game.
Yes.
Oh, that was probably there too.
I think that was the only other one. But so I mean, it's kind of unique in that respect. There's not a lot. I was actually very much looking forward to this game because I was a big fan of MGS4 when it came out. It began as Metal Gear Solid Rising, announced at E3 2009. For my sake, many comparisons will be made between the concept that was shown and the final product. They are very different. Essentially, so this was, Hideo Kojima was working on Metal Gear Solid 5 and Peace Walker and all that stuff. And he felt comfortable letting his team handle this one, and they felt comfortable taking it on because it was a spin-off about Raiden, the character, not Solid Snake. It could be anything completely different in concept, right? And an important quote I wanted to bring up here at the beginning. This was intended for a wider audience, which I think succeeded. In courting a wider audience, we don't just want to imitate what Western developers are doing right now. We want to create something innovative. So that was the plan. Originally, this told the story of Raiden's transformation into a cyborg in between Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4. And instead of the Blade Wolf, the Crying Wolf from MGS4 was going to be his companion.
Got it.
And I think in hindsight, that probably would have been a better storytelling choice, but we'll get into all that. What wound up happening was the team at Kojima Productions was having some difficulty balancing the level design around the ability to cut anything. Because I was like, how are they going to pull this off? That's a pretty tall ask.
Right.
He's got basically like a lightsaber kind of, like can cut through anything. And so apparently the game had fun elements, but it wasn't coming together. And what wound up happening was Kojima came forth and said, look, without sort of like, you got kind of like a bunch of good ideas here, but it's not coming together. Like it was in development for a while. He says that you're not working together enough. You're not collaborating. The game is taking too long. It's never going to be completed at your current pace. The story and character elements were great, but it didn't happen.
Are you saying Kojima said that?
Yes.
That is surprising.
Yes.
Because his games take forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of I guess he would know, like, how long did Metal Gear 5 take? Took 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. So in terms of a fast pace, like this game is much shorter. It's an action game. It's kind of like the pressure's on, I guess. Like this was supposed to be a spin-off. Why is it taking so long?
Sure.
That's my theory.
Totally.
So ultimately the game became a post Metal Gear Solid 4 story about Raiden's post Patriots career. The decision was made to allow Platinum Games full creative freedom to take the story where they wanted. He got in touch with them. I guess they were friendly. He's a big developer. He said a ninja game should be made by a Japanese team, and if anyone could do it, it was them. They have a very lively environment. They make really quick decisions.
Interesting. So that's Platinum as a company. He thinks
he's
that?
talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So, like in terms of where his team would deliberate about a choice, a design choice or whatever, they'd be like, fuck it, let's do it.
All right.
Sure.
So that comes through in this game.
It absolutely does.
And something really funny, this keeps coming up in Mr. Kojima's career, where the president of Platinum at the time said, when Mr. Kojima approached me, I thought he was joking, but then later I realized he was serious, which other people have said about him, which is fascinating. So, essentially they interviewed together. They spoke about, we created something through a bit of an exchange of ideas, a collaboration. We each sort of contributed something to it. And with respect to the title, Revengeance, the intent was to get revenge on the original project that didn't work out.
No way. Really?
Which is very funny.
Wow.
So we have a portmanteau of revenge and vengeance. I don't really know why we had to have both. It's very extreme.
Do you know what's funny though? I now use the word.
Revengeance.
I'm going to take my revengeance on
get
this.
some revengeance.
Yeah.
In promoting the game, Kojima sent out replicas of Raiden's severed arm to promote it. So someone like a journalist opened up a box like, what is this?
I kind of love that.
I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So basically, the setup here, Raiden after the events of MGS4 becomes a security consultant for a private military charter called Maverick on a job gone wrong in Africa. So before we get into mechanics, all that other fun stuff. This is, I think, going to be mostly a Greg question.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
There's a little bit of... I struggle with this myself. What did you think about Raiden picking up the sword again? So it was. Because at the end of MGS4, you kind of get the impression he's going to be a family man. And then just, it kind of goes to shit.
I mean, this game is really strange and silly, like as it is. And I guess... Now, is this game canon?
See, that's my last point here about the setup, is that Kojima describes it as a parallel continuation.
So that means no.
You don't necessarily have to consider it canon.
Okay. Right. So, I mean, before you asked that, I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
Because the way I kind of the way I look at Raiden is like Metal Gear Solid 2, young guy, has this whole world flipped upside down. You do like one sword battle, that's the end.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 4, he's kind of a cyborg ninja and he gets his arms ripped off. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And but then he kind of vows to stop.
Yeah.
And so I consider this game to be like a unrelated spin-off.
Okay.
Personally.
All right. Yeah, I think that's...
I don't know how you feel.
No, I think that's a fair assessment, because for me, it was just kind of like a hard pill to swallow. Like the end of MGS4 is literally him getting a human-ish body again.
Right, exactly.
So it's like, all right, I guess we're doing this again.
Can I have a quick comment on that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is what I took from getting through this game about Raiden. Even if it may not be considered canon, it seems like Raiden has a lot of past trauma that he still needs to take care of. And I think that past trauma may be what led him to taking up a sword again. That's how I take it.
he can't stop.
He can't let
it's
it
one
go.
of those.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate because it's like they kind of in MGS4 they're like, well, Solid Snake, it kind of sort of turns to him at a certain point. He's like, don't live in my shadow. Don't make the same mistakes I did.
Yeah.
Live your life. You're young. You know, and it's just kind of like he's kind of not doing
he's not.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I wanted to ask the both of you, did you like the way this game looked and sounded?
My opinion is no.
Okay.
This game has it's hard for me to describe this style where Raiden is very detailed and the animations are smooth and cool, but the environments feel dead and weird.
Yeah.
It almost feels like here is like Mecha Raiden running through these buildings of nothing.
Yeah.
Right? That's what this game looks like to me.
Yeah.
I don't like the aesthetic of the game.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I think Raiden himself is pretty well designed. You know, he gets the new bodysuit, pretty cool. And I think a lot of the characters are pretty well designed too. They're different armor, weapons, and whatever.
Yeah.
But everything else, I just felt like everything in this game was either running through a building, running through an industrial complex,
running down a street.
Yeah, it all kind of looks gray. There are a couple of areas that I thought were pretty cool, like
the garden.
Japanese, the Japanese garden. And I was also when I think of really good aesthetics in this game, I'm not sure why I think about it. I think the monsoon boss arena is really aesthetically striking.
With the fog and everything.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes. So running down kind of my sort of my overall thoughts here. Number one, the thing that kind of bothers me the most about this game is that when you cut an object, it disappears very quickly. And that kind of, it sort of defeats the whole purpose, where it's like very clearly because if you cut a bunch of stuff, it's going to make this game slow to a crawl. Like,
there's definitely not enough memory in the world to run it.
Like when you do that Oblivion glitch where you clone a bunch of cheese wheels and the game is like, ugh, but like
this game wouldn't be able to run.
And there's also parts of the game where you have to, cut down a fence to get through it. If that took a long time to go away,
and it's very like derpy when that happens too.
It is.
I agree with you guys. Kind of a bland color palette. Generally, not very interesting locations. Few exceptions, like you said. I am not a huge fan of the camera system.
Oh God!
Even with the lock on, when we figured out what button it was, which was the right bumper. An older build of this game seemingly had the camera zoomed out a little bit more. I was watching some videos, which would have helped a lot because I feel like it's very sort of claustrophobic when you're kind of trying to line up your sword swipes or whatever.
Right, especially where there is no... We'll talk about mechanics soon, but there's no dedicated block button.
Right.
So you knowing what direction you're facing and where something is coming from is most of the game.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to see.
Yes. Yeah.
I found myself totally ignoring the lock-on system most of the time and just relying on... So there's kind of like a soft lock-on system with the white rectangle thing that goes on enemies like in your line of sight.
Yeah.
And you can kind of sort of aim that way. Like Raiden will kind of pivot toward those enemies. And if you hit right bumper, he will focus in on that enemy. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
I tended to not use that. My issue mostly stemmed from trying to take out one specific enemy in a group, or God forbid if there was a flying enemy.
Yeah.
That's where I had my most difficulty with the camera.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. In terms of visual design, I like the way Raiden looks a lot once he gets his new suit compared to MGS4. I think it was intentional that he looked a little unnatural in that game because he was kind of blurring the lines between man and machine. But at this point, like the game is about like let's rip, so like you got to make him look really cool. It feels pretty coherent with the Metal Gear aesthetic. I would say that the support team is pretty unmemorable. We got Kevin Washington, who is whenever you find like a poster of a pinup of a girl, he goes, "That's my boy."
That's right. Yep.
And you have Courtney, who is kind of like this sort of like ditzy support character, I guess. Boris, who is your friend, he's just kind of like stereotypical Russian guy.
Yep.
And my favorite character, Doctor.
I love that guy.
But the only guy who really stuck with me as far as friendlies. I think the boss character design is much better. I think it complements the gameplay very well. We'll get further into each one later, but insofar as voice acting, I think everybody pretty much understands the assignment.
I was actually going to mention, I wanted to give big ups to the voice acting team here. For a 2013 game, I thought the voice acting was really good. Honestly.
It's considering that this game is like ridiculously over the top.
Yes.
It is very, very theatrical in a way that it's so extreme that it like pretty much so many lines have become memes at this point.
It really suited, the voice acting really suited the tone they were going for.
Yeah, which is over the top insanity.
Yeah, and it worked. It worked for the game.
Yeah. And before I get too far off, enemy designs, I think earlier builds seem to have more generic PMC kind of guys that were just normal people. Decent enemy variety overall. I liked the hammer guys. Those were kind of tough. You got some gunships. You have the gorilla. Those guys are very tough.
Yep.
The raptors. The aerial enemies that you mentioned. Yes. The sewer skimmers, and the big tanks. So you got a good sort of if you're making a game like this, it kind of I've seen games with fewer.
Yep.
And lastly, I wanted to mention that the soundtrack is not really my type of music, but the one that grew on me was the one that our favorite YouTuber, Not Tim Wakefield, used for a photo of Barack Obama weightlifting. I think it's plays during the final boss fight, and it's like I couldn't help but get into it. Mm-hmm. I think the first time I played this game, I actually lowered the music just because it was just like, oh, this is obnoxious.
Well, I mean, it's just obnoxious. Kind of J-rock, punky, crazy, I don't know, just
metal-y kind of
proggy
stuff that I just don't listen to.
Yeah, and it's all the lyrics are very overt as well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I liked it, but I do think it kind of fit what they were going for.
Sure.
I feel like we're going to say that a lot. There's a lot in this game. I don't think I like it, but I think it all fits together.
They went for a certain tone, and whether we like the tone or not, they sold on it, they went for it, and they accomplished it.
I think a lot of this stuff is it was harder for me to swallow at the time because I was really into that initial Kojima demo, and it's like, this is very, very different. But with that in mind, let's get into the combat here, shall we?
Let's do it.
I would say the skeleton of this is pretty boilerplate combo-based combat, reminiscent of DMC or God of War, bolstered by some of the weapons you get from bosses, like the staff, the sai, or the scissors. And there are also a handful of secondary weapons, rockets, grenades, and the cardboard box, of course. For me, I did not use these much unless it was like an emergency.
Yep.
The secondary weapons to me felt kind of like a last minute inclusion, maybe just kind of clunky, and could, like, in terms of how you brought it up, I thought it was kind of like poorly implemented. Did you guys mess around much with like non-sword weapons?
I didn't buy any of them.
Okay.
Nope.
I mean, by non-sword weapons, do you also mean the sub-weapons?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't use any of the boss weapons, but yeah, I think some of the sub-weapons you're quote-unquote supposed to use in certain boss situations to help you, whether it's like EMP grenades and certain helicopter rocket launchers and
stuff. You know what's kind of funny? I guess it's fitting for a Metal Gear game, right? I actually use the cardboard box quite a bit.
Yeah. Really?
Because I didn't play this game stealthy, but there were some sections where I was like, I don't want to deal with 3 gorilla enemies right now. I'm just going to sneak right by them with the cardboard box. So I did use that. I would say I didn't really use the rockets. I didn't really use the grenades. But so really just the cardboard box, and I actually got it's not an achievement. They give you titles when you beat the game.
Yes.
I got the title of never using another weapon aside from the standard high frequency blade.
Oh, there you go.
So I never even bought them.
No, yeah. So I used them, back when this game first came out. I didn't use any of them this time. I just didn't find them that satisfying to use. I didn't feel like they were fully fleshed out compared to the sword.
Sure.
But one other important factor here is that successful combat is rewarded with energy that can be focused on blade mode, which is a short period of time where time sort of slows down and Raiden can freely cut enemies at any angle. When struck, a target at their center yields sort of this spine, a cyborg spine that replenishes Raiden's health and energy. They say it's full of electrolytes. So
which is really funny.
Get the Gatorade
gets
in
a
there.
little Gatorade out of the guy's back. Initially, as I mentioned, that first demo featured total bloody dismemberment, and so essentially this was redesigned so you're only chopping up cyborgs and androids, which sort of break apart in a kind of sparky sort of display. Probably to avoid trouble with Japan's censorship rulings.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It is a little bit of a shame because it looked really cool, but
did they have that dismemberment in the demo, like the early build?
The initial demo, yeah. It's very like Kill Bill. But so in this version, enemies' artificial bodies take a little while to weaken. And to me, the end result of this is a little bit of a letdown compared to how Raiden, like the in terms of like the Raiden fantasy, like I want to cut through anything. Like it's just like they do explain it. I use the codec a lot more this time to try and get some lore info. and they're like, well, you can't just cut right through a cyborg. You got to whittle them down a little bit, right? And just to me, it's just like, I want to just cut through them. I just want to do it. Let me rip.
I get that. Can I say that as far as gameplay goes, I kind of liked the whole blade mode leading to recovery thing.
Yeah.
I think this game is meant to be played fast, right?
Yeah.
And I think having built-in like HP recovery into the combat like that lends itself very well to the fast-paced gameplay they were
to
going
keep
for.
you in people's faces.
Yeah. I thought that worked pretty well.
You can sort of do it by, there's that item called the Fox Blade, which is Gray Fox's sword, and you have to upgrade that fully. And I think it takes an amazing amount of blade points.
Is that like a post-game sword or something? I remember
I think
finding
so,
that.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's one thing. You were actually originally going to be able to chop enemies' weapons apart to non-lethally dispatch them, as well as when you're doing combos, you could deflect bullets. So you can do that when you're running in this game.
That would have made the morality more interesting. If you could disarm people.
Disarm people,
cool.
deflect their shots.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
The stealth element was originally going to be a lot more prominent. As you mentioned, you liked the box a lot.
I did like the box.
And basically their distinction between this and Metal Gear Solid was that it is hunting stealth instead of hiding stealth. So you're more of a predator.
Yeah.
And Kojima himself said that they reduced emphasis on stealth to create a game that felt better, more fast-moving to play. Would you have liked to have seen a more fleshed-out stealth system in this game?
That's interesting. I think yes and no. I think a pitfall to this game is it does feel very arcadey.
Yeah.
Like, some of these levels are very short. They're very fast. You're walking through dead area. You find group of enemies, you kill them, and that's kind of the thing. That's
you get
kind
your
of the
grade. Yeah.
Right. And so it feels very arcadey. And I actually had some of my most fun utilizing the box and sneaking around.
Yeah.
But then I said to myself, is using the box not really what this game is about? Is it a joke? Like, if they fleshed it out more, would it have made it more interesting, or would it have distracted from what the game is? It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
Right?
I think for me, it's kind of weird. I make a lot of comparisons with this game to Sekiro. I feel like there's a lot of comparisons to be made here. I thought it's interesting where he says this game, the stealth system is more about hunting. I thought the stealth kill system was not very refined at all.
No.
I think that was their intent, not what wound up happening.
Oh, I see. Because I was like, I'm sneaking right up behind this guy, and I can't like stealth kill him. I can jump from a higher platform and kill a guy that way.
Yes.
But if I'm right behind this guy, he doesn't see me. I never really got the prompt to stealth kill
anybody. You have to be like right up his ass.
Yeah, I thought maybe that would be a little bit more well implemented, like more stealth kill mechanics. If that was maybe their
maybe they
intent,
didn't want to make it too easy. I don't really know.
Yeah.
It's a weird development cycle.
I do feel that in regard to the stealth, I felt that the enemy lines of sight were actually pretty good. Where like if you're walking around in the box and an enemy notices your movements or you like stutter step, they will see you.
Yeah.
So that was pretty well done, I'd say. I didn't get any cheapies when I was walking around the box.
Sure, I totally get that. Early footage also showed Raiden chopping down some brick supports to collapse a balcony onto some enemy soldiers, suggesting at one point there would have been some kind of exploitation of environmental hazards and stuff. Mm-hmm. For me, it's pretty safe to say this would have been a welcome inclusion. Maybe some element of puzzle solving or something would have gotten a bit more utility out of the Zendatsu mode.
Yeah.
Aiming your blade. They do have those chests I showed you how to open. You gotta aim your sword.
Yeah, I think I missed a lot of upgrades before you taught me about that. Oops.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And it seems like at one point Raiden was going to be able to take multiple routes through a level, including via wall running. So there was going to be a little bit more. I think they just kept cutting down, and they wound up making these sort of dead feeling environments.
A game about cutting, they kept cutting content. Makes a lot of sense.
You got to make some cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And my last point here, VR mode. I would say this is, for me, I think we talked a lot about on the Batman episodes that this was, you feel very overpowered when you're using sort of the detective mode or whatever. I thought it was a better implementation in this game. Not that they use it a ton, but in terms of you can only use it when you're standing still or walking very slowly.
Yes. Yep.
That's a little fairer. And Nick, you wanted to bring up something that I actually didn't have.
I did, yeah. So there's one other, it unlocks later on in the game. It's called Jack the Ripper mode.
Yes.
Where I think, at least on Xbox it was, you hit the 2 sticks.
Yep.
And you can only do it when you have a full fuel cell blade mode meter thing. And it continually takes down your meter.
Yeah.
But your sword strikes are a lot more powerful, and you can start ripping people. Jack the Ripper mode. You start ripping people apart very quickly.
Yeah.
I thought this was a pretty welcome addition, because once you've played this game for a few hours, those random weak enemies, they're like, okay, I have to take out another group of these. But Jack the Ripper mode gives you a different way of doing so if you're so inclined.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty welcome, because combat essentially stays the same. You're just a little more powerful and can take out these weak, I'll call them mobs, without having to focus too much on them, which I think is nice.
It allows you to do it without putting too many points into your sword, which is
exactly.
Cool. So with that in mind, I'd like to get into the story here.
Oh boy.
If everybody's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So right off the bat, I mentioned this. So this takes place 4 years after MGS4. The year is 2018, folks.
Oh boy.
All right.
While providing security for the prime minister of a developing nation in Africa, Raiden and his team are attacked by a rival PMC known as Desperado. Desperado is captained by the cyborg ninja squad Winds of Destruction. Mm-hmm. And so one quick point I wanted to mention, it is kind of nice that you get a Metal Gear boss team again. Mm-hmm. Because like it's insofar as after 4 you don't really like, you know, Peace Walker 5, it's like there's not really like a team of characters, and I think that's a big thing that I like about Metal Gear is that, you know, the boss has, you know, the boss says have personality,
or the bosses are a thing.
You get a fairly effective intro level with a Metal Gear Ray boss fight. Pretty fitting that it was perceived as an insurmountable threat at the end of MGS2. It is just your tutorial boss here.
Right.
And Raiden, shortly into the game, gets his ass handed to him by Jetstream Sam of the team. They're fighting on a train, and that was another thing where I felt like they must have like cut something, because I'm like, this is a really cool set piece for a sword fight, and I feel like they didn't do a lot with it.
Yeah. No, is that really the only part where you're on like a moving object? There's not a lot.
There's like elevators later.
Yeah. There's not. Yeah, but you're right. It would have been kind of cool to have a legitimate sword fight.
A little cinematic.
Like that.
Yeah. It's something that I did notice this time that I didn't before, was that if you know what you're doing, Sam can just be avoided indefinitely. Like, he won't say anything different. You can just like dodge out of his way, or like keep out of his way. And it's like, so I was like, I wonder what happens if you kind of ride this out. Nothing happens.
So like so the battle is not really you have to take enough damage and it ends. You can just wait it out, and it's kind of timed that way.
No, like you can keep it going indefinitely. You know, like,
sure.
So it's one of those.
Kind of funny. Okay.
But Raiden gets really messed up here. He is outfitted with the new cyborg body, as we mentioned, and sort of as a counterattack, he is dropped into Eastern Europe in a sequence somewhat reminiscent of Snake Eater to me when you're in the ship. His intent here is to capture the leader of an extremist faction that Desperado is supporting, to try and broker a peace treaty between the two groups. Something kind of funny here I wanted to ask if you guys interacted with. There is a cat roaming around on the beach here.
What? There's a cat?
On the in like level 1.
Really?
And there's a cat walking around the beach, and I'm like, they're not going to let you do it, are they? And so I go up to it with the sword, and I'm like, what's going to happen? And you swing the sword at it, and it does like backflips. I'm like, that's cute.
That's very cute.
Very cute. So shortly thereafter, Desperado leaves a trap for Raiden in the form of the Blade Wolf. That's kind of your first boss encounter, your first legit boss encounter. And after defeating it, Raiden's team sort of rebuilds and rewires this machine to serve their cause. What did you think of the Blade Wolf character?
I hated this boss fight, but this character grew on me a lot.
Yeah? Okay.
So I think I don't know how our fans feel about this. Maybe you can comment. This game took me a long time to like get good at it. Like,
Okay.
I found it like very frustrating for the first couple of levels. I don't understand how to block stuff. I don't understand how to combo stuff. How do you do any damage to this thing? I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I almost think that the Blade Wolf fight is almost the get good fight, and they give it to you very early.
Yeah.
And I think what's really fun, you kind of like, we won't spoil too much now, but like you get like into like a cute kind of companionship with Blade Wolf, where he really like grew on me. Where during this boss, I think I was messaging you, I fucking hate this game. Like I already hate it.
Yeah.
And then like later on, he's like very cute. But Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience
Yeah, I
with Blade
hated this.
Wolf. I think I was actually messaging this chat where I was like, guys, what the fuck?
How do you do this?
What do you do? I had to do the same thing, right? Where I was like, I have to get good. I just got to do
Yep.
it.
Mhm.
But I got through that boss, and honestly, I'm echoing the same thing you're saying. I kind of have like a thing. I don't know what it is. I have a thing for like AI or robot characters that are funny.
Yeah.
Like where they don't have emotion, so they say things that to them are just very cut and dry, but to the player are like, what the hell are you talking about? What does that even mean? So I kind of like characters like that.
Sure.
So when I saw, in the next segment when it reveals that Blade Wolf is now with Raiden and he's in the backseat, I was like, yeah, let's
He's
go.
with you, yeah. Yeah, I'm like, so my sort of feelings are the character works for me on paper, but I'm very tired of that trope.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Where for me it was kind of the antithesis of, we talked about Titanfall 2,
Mhm.
the BT character, that's all in the performance, It's
Right.
like it's just human enough to work.
Mhm.
And you kind of have sort of this robot character he doesn't really have emotions. So you have a bit of an ironic sense of humor.
Mhm.
Like the rest of the team, though, I mentioned I talked with him on the codec a lot more. This time provides a lot more details about the world and lore if you call him enough, which is cool.
He is very knowledgeable. I noticed that.
Not long after, you are faced with the first member of the squad, Mistral. So Mistral can merge with the arms of the tripod dwarf gecko, the little robot guys from MGS4. Uses them to put a staff together that needs to be cut apart in specific ways. And something really funny that happened during this boss fight, I called everybody, and when Raiden calls Doctor, he's like, Doctor, did you notice anything about Mistral? Did you notice something? And he goes, I noticed two somethings.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
so it's a nice little subtle comment. And so they'll help you out a little bit, but it's mostly like comic relief.
Mhm.
And what I did like about this is it ends with her getting frozen by liquid nitrogen, and you like cut her up
Yep.
at the end. I thought that was.
I thought
kinda
this
cool.
boss battle was very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Riley, I think you were in the room when I beat this boss.
Yep.
Yeah, you were watching me fight this boss, and this is actually the boss fight where I got confident in the game.
Me too.
Because I only lost once, I think. So I was like, okay, I think I'm getting this.
Yeah.
Then my heart was ripped out a little while later, which we'll get to. But after Mistral, I was like, I think I can do this.
I think that's intended to be kind of a, like, here you go. This
Soft
is the
handoff.
game. Yeah.
Yep.
Can I say something that I sort of noticed about Mistral as a character?
Yeah.
I might be totally off base with this. I got the feeling that her and Raiden like had a history or they knew each other. Raiden seemed like he could spot her from afar and knew who or what she was.
Okay.
I got that feeling, but I don't know if
Interesting.
that's explained anywhere.
Not in the old games.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it's like, what is he doing? It seems like he knows her, but that
Interest-
could just be me.
interesting take. Yeah. So yeah, I mentioned earlier he's after this like extremist leader who kills himself in a very spectacular and funny fashion. He blows up the entire like oil rig that they're standing
that's
on.
right.
This dude, you were like, wait, what?
I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, that's right. You were watching me play.
And that's just like how that sequence ends. And so what happens next is Raiden and Wolf investigate a research facility located deep in the sewer system of Guadalajara, Mexico.
We love sewer levels.
We love sewer levels.
God.
But an important thing here is that Raiden shows up wearing quite the outfit. Nick, what does he wear?
He's got a sombrero, and is he also wearing a poncho?
Yeah, yeah.
And at one point he says, "Adios, amigos."
Yeah,
And I'm
because two
like,
people spot him. They're like,
"Oh
what?
my
What?
God." I was like, okay,
I'm like,
that's what this
I'm like, what's going on with the tone right now?
I have no idea.
It's
That was very
bonkers.
bizarre.
So it is discovered when they're going through this level, hundreds of orphans have been abducted and their brains have been removed to expose their brains to VR combat training and raise them as cyborg killers. So I have a prompt for you fellas. Is this story idea horrifying or ridiculous?
I can start on that first.
Okay.
I think for what you experience in the game, it's so ridiculous that this story beat doesn't seem that ridiculous because it just seems like in tone.
You're already on that level.
Yeah, so I was kind of horrified by it.
Yeah,
because I think it also works with Raiden's past as a child soldier, so he's very sympathetic toward this.
Yeah,
and so I think it worked.
Well, I think that's the only level where it works because it's just absurd.
It is absurd, but I was like, it's horrifying. It is absurd, but it works.
But I feel like because Raiden is your protagonist, it makes more sense.
It does.
If it was anyone else, I'd be like, this is silly.
Insane.
Right.
Yeah.
It is insane. I'm not going to say it's not insane.
Because you are kind of that. Right. Essentially.
Yeah.
If you know his history from Metal Gear Solid 2, you are kind of
a lower
that.
tech level. Yeah. Okay, so next question. Can we talk about the character of George?
Do we have to? Can we really have to talk about
We
it?
have to.
Okay, fine. The moment he showed up, I said, oh no. My God. Yeah, oh no. What are they going to do here? Like, they translate him on screen with different subtitles.
He is kind of a Jar Jar presence, Jar Jar Binks of Star Wars. I'm just glad this character didn't get a ton of screens. I thought he was going to be around the whole time.
No, I thought so too. I was like, oh God, how much am I going to have to listen to this kid?
But here's the bizarre thing that I've needed to talk about since this game came out. Is that he's like a successful runaway from this child soldier project, right? And he's running around the sewers, kind of strikes up a friendship with Raiden. Towards the end, when you're in the lab, and you spot Senator Armstrong for the first time. George is sort of kidnapped by one of the scientists, and it's going to lead to some sort of ultimatum. And George is like, "Don't worry about me, Raiden." And he goes, "Are you sure?" And he says, "Yeah." And Raiden fucking like cuts them both in half. Do you remember this?
I was confused about this because I was like, wait, do you have to hit them both?
Because you don't, you don't play it. Like it's just a cutscene. But like you see the guy fall in half, and then the next time you see George, he has a cyborg body.
Yeah, I was confused. I didn't think he hit George.
Did they cut something out of this?
I think so.
Maybe they didn't want to show a kid getting sliced in half.
Getting cut.
I get that, but I
think there's some missing content here.
Yeah, and I just think my question is like, if that's the case, then why is it in the game in the first place?
I don't know.
Did they really need more comic relief in this game? I don't think so.
Because you don't see him again until like the end.
Yeah, he's very absent.
I don't know. Weird character.
Yeah.
So yes, I mentioned Senator Armstrong, a United States senator from Colorado, is invested in this project. And another PMC known as World Marshal, whose headquarters is housing the majority of these children's brains. Mm-hmm. So unable to cut through the red tape, as it were, that would involve indicting these people legally, Raiden decides to go rogue at this point and cut through them physically.
Ooh, I like it.
I forgot all about this, where I think some aspects of this are somewhat prescient in a weird way, where, okay, so Denver's police force has become fully privatized and militarized. I can totally see that happening. In terms of the cyborg thing, that's another level. We'll see. Raiden, as soon as he arrives on scene, he wrecks his car and just immediately starts cutting them apart. Unbelievable.
That's right. I remember this.
At a certain point in this part where you're in Denver, which I can't believe we're there in a Metal Gear game.
Right.
Jetstream Sam appears again and begins taunting Raiden over his indiscriminate killing. And there's a pretty effective sequence that I liked where Raiden begins to hear the private thoughts and fears of the people he's been killing, like the other cyborgs, because, you have all these suppressor nanomachines or whatever. And he's, for the first time, kind of grappling with that. You wind up walking like slower, and he gets fucked up from it. I thought this was a cool part.
Yeah, I thought maybe they could have done more with it.
Yeah.
Because it kind of... Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think after this section, can you still hear like what enemies are saying at any point?
I mean, not that I remember.
I don't remember it. Maybe if they had something maybe in Blade mode or something where things are slowed down, maybe
All I remember is the guys going, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, right. Yeah, I thought maybe it would have added another layer of humanity to Raiden if you could hear maybe. Or I also get the side of that might have been annoying for the next 4 hours of the game.
Yeah,
I kind of see both. But I think it would have been nice if they carried this theme a little bit more.
Yeah. So essentially, this kind of leads into what you were talking about with the Jack the Ripper mode. Raiden fully snaps at this moment and embraces his inner Jack the Ripper persona, which I didn't even know existed. After an encounter with the Monsoon character, this man is made of magnets, and he is obsessed with memes. And he's basically his speech here. I did note he seems to mirror Skullface from MGS5, where a man who believes violence is contagious. And so, the cycle of revenge, it's kind of a similar theme across both games. I wanted to very briefly go through a couple of my favorite lines of his. Number 1, memes, the DNA of the soul. Number 2, there's a pretty meme, exquisite. And number 3, this is actually something Raiden says to him. How about full of shit? Is that a meme? And obviously, this is, they're talking about the ideological definition of meme.
Like the dictionary definition of meme.
The Richard Dawkins version. But this is, it's funny because it's 2013. We all knew what memes were back then.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know if it's different in Japanese, but whatever.
But maybe when this game was initially developed, like in 2009.
But I feel like whenever anyone uses the word meme, but the dictionary definition, to me, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So my perception of this boss fight, we're all going to go around the room and talk about it. I think this is generally very well conceived, where you are trying to cut a guy who can't be cut. I think that's very cool for a game like this. But what weirds me out, and it's kind of frustrating how arbitrary it is. Like, I don't know what it is that allows him to be cut during those moments where
I don't understand what has changed.
Right, exactly.
I don't understand.
So let's talk about your experience, Nick.
So first, I want to say one thing about his character.
Yeah.
Because I remember, Riley, when you were first telling me and Greg to play this game, you said, there is a character who is made of magnets and he loves memes. When I got to this fight, I said, oh my God, this is him.
There he is.
This is the guy. So
I've heard so much about you.
Right? This one, he's very funny because I don't think he has any presence before this moment. He just kind of shows up. And he actually pushes Sam out of the way. It looks like Sam was going to fight you.
Yeah.
But he says, no, I'll take care of this or something. And then Sam says, you're the boss. So it makes you feel like he's some high-ranking official.
Higher ranking, yeah. Maybe.
But anyway, my fight with this guy sucked. I thought for me, this was the hardest boss in the game.
Oh, yeah.
This was so hard for me. It's definitely a boss where you have to learn the directional parrying and blocking.
Yeah. And
if you don't nail it, you get absolutely destroyed.
Yep.
Right.
What I did like about this boss is I thought all the bosses kind of did this in their own ways. This is Raiden he's obviously very powerful, he's strong, he's fast, but every sort of boss kind of takes one of his powers and amplifies it.
Yeah.
Like while Raiden is very fast, Monsoon's thing is he's faster than you. So you sort of have to play the slow and parry and methodical way instead of just chomping him to bits because he's so much faster than you.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to preface this by answering the question, yes, I am a moron.
Okay.
FYI.
Go ahead.
I learned how nanopaste worked in this fight.
Oh my God.
I had never used a single nanopaste throughout the game.
Nick,
until this moment.
Nick didn't know there was a healing system?
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I never really bothered with it. I thought they were so finite, and then I kind of forgot about them.
Right.
So then I learned, hey, if I equip this, it'll just revive me when I die.
And you can only find those, right? You can't buy them?
You can't buy them. That's why I thought they were finite. But during this fight, he can like drop them, which I thought was pretty cool.
Okay.
He also, when you cut the debris he throws at you, you can also get EMP grenades. So my video game mind.
Yeah. See, that makes sense that would fuck him up.
Yeah. So I was just like, in my video game mind, I said, okay, maybe these things are good against him because he keeps dropping them for me to use.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
There you go.
Ultimately, I liked the boss fight. I thought there was a lot of really cool parts to it. But man, he probably killed me the most times out of anything in this entire game.
I just didn't understand. I think you were playing this with me. I think you either sat
maybe
next
at the same time.
I think so. It was either you or Big Red who was next to me. And I was playing this and I said, I don't understand this. Like, I'm blocking over and over and over. I don't understand the moments when I can do damage, but somehow it's working. I don't know. This was not my favorite. I think visually it's cool.
Yeah.
He I think I said he kind of looks like Rayman because his arms are all like detached.
Well, I think it's cool like when you're swinging at him and he's like, no, you can't hit me. And his arms are separating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like he looks cool, but this boss was so annoying, right?
Yeah, can I say one thing too that I sort of forgot? You unlock Jack the Ripper mode in this fight, and it's totally worthless for it.
In this fight,
this fight, I was like, I don't think I've encountered that before. You unlock a new system at a boss fight, and it's totally worthless.
I imagine that. So I am like great at this boss fight now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But in terms of, I think it's maybe supposed to deliberately frustrate you that you want to let her rip. I think it's time for Jack to let her rip.
Okay.
And then like you're swinging wildly at him and it's just not doing anything. That's just my interpretation.
I like that interpretation.
So you wind up handing his ass to him. That Japanese garden I mentioned, fun set piece, but it kind of just like. This was another situation where I think a more fleshed out stealth system would have been great because there's a lot of kind of sneak around these rooftops and sneaking up on guys.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of running up and down buildings at this point. A lot of
anime moments.
Yes,
I fell off the top of these buildings so many times.
Really?
I don't know why. I think I never really mastered ninja running. I just kept like running in circles and falling off things.
I like the one part where you jump on the flying thing and you have to fly it around.
That was pretty cool.
That was kind of interesting.
That. Yeah.
You wind up confronting the leader here, Sundowner. What an absurd character we got here. I wanted to point out a small detail in his dialogue. At a certain point here, so he's basically talking about the benefits of a war economy and, basically how it's gonna keeps the wheels turning. Society needs war, etc. And he harkens back to the good old days after 9/11, which is number one. If you've lived through that, those are not by any means good old days. But this implies that both 9/11 and the Arsenal gear crash happened to New York City in this universe.
Mm-hmm. That's so
the financial district got demolished twice in the Metal Gear Solid universe, which is insane.
Wow.
Terrifying stuff.
Yeah.
Terrifying to live in a place like this. I like Sundowner's boss fight a lot. I think it's a good example of, you may prove me wrong here. I thought it was a good example of the directional cutting. I know you did not use this at all.
My boss fight with this guy was really
funny. Me
too.
too.
So before I get on the boss fight, I noticed something pretty cool between Sundowner and Sam. They're kind of like a duo, right? You usually see them together. Or at least the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And I think they really play off each other well.
Yep.
Where Jetstream Sam is more of this like stoic, he's not super villainy kind of guy.
Kind of suave.
Yeah. Whereas Sundowner, he murders the president or the prime minister of that African country.
Yeah.
He is clearly the more villainous of the two.
Yes.
Which I thought there was a pretty cool dynamic between them.
Yeah, Sam's kind of just more like a gun for hire.
Yeah, exactly. Now this guy, I don't know, man. I don't know if this fight broke for me. I had a really weird time with it.
You and I almost did the same thing.
I literally just ninja ran in circles and hit the X button about 300 times.
Oh, really?
To him. I did nothing of what the fight told me to do.
That's awesome.
And I had pulled him so far away, the helicopters didn't even shoot at me.
Wow.
So I don't know if this fight was broken, but because he was so big and slow, he almost never got a hit off on me.
That's crazy.
My hand was hurting at the end of it. It took like half an hour of me running around and hitting the X button.
But, I kind of just played along.
I think that kind of fucked me for later because I never learned how to directional cut.
Well, that's so you basically, so he has these weird sort of like almost like a beetle sort of shields that come out of his back, and you're meant to cut them along certain lines and stuff. And he gets a good holy fuck in there when you do it right. That's something that's a good incentive there.
I think my boss fight was similar to yours, where I would do like 3 little hits and then just roll away and then just ninja run and hit him and then run.
It took so fucking long.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Oops.
I feel like I'm going to say that a lot in this episode. I don't understand what they want me to do.
So after this fight, it is revealed that Senator Armstrong is going to take a shot at the president in Pakistan to sort of reignite the war on terror, create a demand for soldiers. So Raiden needs to get there in a hurry to prevent this from happening. This is a really weird part for me. See, I was I was really looking forward to this game, and I thought it was going to be longer. This part in particular, there's a escape Denver sequence here. It feels to me kind of like either filler or there was more and it got cut down, because these last few levels to me don't really feel as substantial.
Well, the last couple levels are like 20 minutes long.
Very short.
They're tiny or even shorter.
The last one is like a little bit longer, but these middle ones are very
short.
Very short. A very absurd sequence where Raiden is riding a motorcycle. He's just riding it through the desert, and you have a final confrontation with Sam here. I don't have too many complaints about this sequence. It's a very straightforward sort of 1v1 duel on an even playing field for once. And this, I really thought this was going to be the final boss the first time I played this.
Oh, sure. I could see that.
Did you guys enjoy this fight? Or?
Well, so let me say this. Well, number one, yes, because it was really just like sort of a mano-y-mano sort of duel.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing about, actually, there's a mechanic in this game that bothers me. This is going to sound more of like a Greg complaint, but folks in the audience may agree with this. I think there's a problem with the checkpoint system in this game. Let me lay it down for you. So let's say you're doing the Sam fight, and you use a nano paste. And then you reload a checkpoint or die or whatever. You don't get it back.
You don't.
Oh.
So wait, like what I found myself abusing the reload system too much, where I learned how to fight Sam, then I just reloaded my save. It's because if you use a nano paste and then you reload your save, you start with 4 instead of 5. So it kind of tries to stick it to you to try to game it or try to cheat. So what I did on every boss was I learned how to do it, then I would just reload and do it better. I kind of felt like I was cheapening the whole experience. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that. If you're listening, tell me if you did that.
I didn't pick up on that, but I definitely did the same thing you did for most of the bosses, where I would try to learn them first and then just do it equipping the nano paste. I kind of like, I don't want to call it cheese. I know I'm not playing well. I'm going to restart this. Oh, I got hit on the first 5 seconds. I'm restarting this.
That's what I did.
That's typically what I did to try and play it better.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So about the Sam fight, I liked it a lot. Straight up sword fight. The one gimmick I thought was really interesting. I guess it's intentional because I guess Sam's backstory is he's a martial artist. There's a blade mode moment where you can knock his sword away, and I think the fight becomes a lot harder if he's fighting you hand to hand.
Oh, really?
When I knocked his sword away, I was like, this dude's kicking my fucking ass.
Yeah.
So like I'm running into him, he just grabbed me by the head, throw me in the ground. I'm like, what do you even do?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever did that.
I just chose not to knock his sword away and just made him like stay equipped. Like I said, I guess it makes sense. He is Brazilian. He does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I'm quoting the wiki there. He knows Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
I don't know.
It was weird. I felt like that was I don't know if the game is intentionally trying to like screw you over.
That's one thing. I did want to mention one other detail in this point. So you do kill him.
Yep.
And Blade Wolf is a little conflicted here because he used to serve Sam. I thought that was kind of cool. But it is revealed in here that Sam is an ordinary human and not a cyborg.
Yeah.
And so my problem with this is that Raiden is a cyborg capable of destroying Metal Gears on foot. And an ordinary human was able to defeat him on the train.
Yeah,
doesn't make any fucking sense.
So this is what I think about that. So from reading up on Sam, it says he was outfitted with like some cyber exoskeleton.
Okay.
To like make him to try and make him match cyborgs.
But he doesn't have any internal whatever.
No, I think they're really trying to get the point across. This is just a really good swordsman.
Okay.
But I guess for me, that leads to my larger problem where I have no idea how strong Raiden actually is.
No, so I mean, this is sort of this. To me, this started in MGS4 where he's stopping a boat from crushing Solid Snake. I'm like, all right, this guy's pretty cool, but he can't. I mean, for me, I don't think he should be able to defy the laws of physics. It just doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
This game obviously is much more heightened. But the things that you've seen Raiden do at this point are unbelievable.
Right.
And it's like, how did he lose to this guy? It's crazy.
I don't know.
He was just having an off day or something.
Hey, we all have off days.
The plot demands it, I guess.
That's true.
So yeah, Raiden has a brief reunion with Sonny of MGS4, who is working on some sort of Elon Musk project, lightning fast transportation to Pakistan. And I like this last level. It's a pretty good encapsulation of the experience as a whole. But again, the lack of a true stealth mechanic kind of holds it back because they sort of like bait the hook there, where it's like, look at all these guys, they don't know you're here, you know. And if they had that, it would be a little bit more. You could have a sort of build the tension a little bit better, maybe.
I agree.
Herein, you confront Senator Armstrong.
Oh, God.
In a battle with a new version of Metal Gear called Excelsis, which looks like a giant robot ant. And I'm not sure what its specific purpose is. It looks like it can dig and has giant laser swords. So, Nick, to clarify, most of the Metal Gears that have been seen up to this point have had a purpose. Like in terms of like Metal Gear Ray, which you fight at the beginning, was intended to take down other Metal Gears.
Okay. So
this ant robot very much feels just like it was made for Raiden to fight. You know what I mean? Like
why is Armstrong in it? What is he doing with it? I really don't know.
Why is there a scorpion on the train? Resident Evil 0. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. I actually like this boss battle a lot. I think it is very exciting. Feels like a true culmination of the experience. Raiden eventually rips off one of the Metal Gear's arms and has a gigantic sword fight with it.
Yeah. I remember that.
Cool.
I like that. And it caps the battle off by you do blade mode with one of the swords.
Yes.
And you put it apart that way.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Thought that was going to be the end.
Oh no. Well,
that is not the end. What follows is one of the most absurd sequences in any game I've ever played. Can we talk about the final confrontation with Senator Armstrong? Let's open up the floor.
Where do you even start?
Can I start by saying this is sort of like from the back, like a little bit before. He says one of like the funniest things, but in the Excelsis fight.
Yes.
I died because I was laughing so hard. He said, "Uncle Sam needs you to die, Jack."
Yeah.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Awesome.
This guy, the quotes from this guy are just like, where do you want to start?
You know,
do you want to start with?
Well, so I guess it would help if we explain like his character. I was this whole time when I first played it, I was like, I wonder who the final boss is going to be.
Right.
And I never thought that this guy who appears in one cutscene earlier on, they talk about this. This is the guy. He's potentially going to clinch the nomination for 2020. That's how they introduce him.
That's fucked.
This guy is like very inflammatory. I would describe his policies as completely incoherent. Maybe somewhat libertarian, but he wants to, in his words, make America great again. And keep
when
in mind,
I saw that on the screen, I laughed my ass off.
I said, "Are you kidding me?"
Because this game came out in 2013. 2 years before that became a slogan of national import.
What was the joke you were making off mic like an hour ago? Like I said, did Trump play this? Like
my idea was that he saw Baron playing it, and he was like, I like the way this guy's talking. You know, like picked up a couple.
Oh my god,
a few pearls of wisdom. He really just never stops. This voice actor is incredible. I forgot to look up his name.
It's Alistair Duncan.
Alistair
I made sure to
Duncan.
look him up because I wanted to give him props.
Please take your medal here.
Yes.
Incredible performance. It's one of those things where literally everything he says is funny. It's weird because this boss is very, very hard. This is the boss that I died to the most. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like very like borderline unfair moments where you can get like a significant chunk of your health taken off by like when he throws something.
Yep.
You really have to line up all your directional cutting like perfectly.
This final boss to me was so hard. This is almost like an Ishin moment. Where I'm like,
I felt like I was fighting.
Yes, where I'm like,
I've
tried this 25, 30, 40 times. Like, it is
really?
So hard.
I played this game on every difficulty when it came out, and I played it on Revengeance difficulty, which is the highest one. And I broke a controller on this fight.
I can see why you would.
The first and only time in my entire life that I broke a controller.
Out of anger or because you're hitting the buttons too hard?
No, out of anger.
Oh, okay.
Just like, fuck. It was in the dorm, and I was like, fuck this. I just dropped it on the floor.
That's awesome.
But very out of character for me. No, absolutely insane. I don't know if you have any highlights about it.
Oh, sure. I mean, for me, to me, not only is everything he says really funny, and how many lines he said ended up being political phrases in real life.
Yeah.
I think what's really funny, he's literally just this really muscly, bulky senator in like a suit and tie just punching the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And it's like, really, what do you say? Don't fuck with this senator. right? Something like
yes,
that.
And that's when he drop kicks you and they play a crowd sharing.
Yes, I was going to mention that. Yes, I was like, are you kidding me?
Unbelievable.
Because he says one of our favorite lines that we meme sometimes that a beloved Red Sox announcer once said, I played a little college ball.
Oh, does he say that?
Yeah.
He quotes, oh my God, he quotes the eternal Jerry Remy.
That's right. So, okay, I have one thing to say about Senator Armstrong as a character before I talk about the boss fight. One thing. I think right now, we're in 2022. Sympathetic villains, redemption arc villains are all the rage right now.
Yes.
So I love when I find a game, a book or something that just has a villain who is just so fucking unhinged.
Yeah.
That I sort of love that.
Well, they kind of toe the line here with how much Raiden is maybe seeing where he's coming from, because he does trick him initially, but after the credits, you're kind of wondering, did Raiden take some of that on board? But the first time when he's about to hug him and he or like shake his hand and hug him, and he's like, I see now, you're batshit insane.
I like that moment too, because it sort of gives Armstrong a little bit of like humanity, because you can kind of see on his face he's disappointed and saddened that Raiden doesn't want to work with him.
Yes.
And I was like, okay. But about the boss fight, okay, I died a lot. It was hard.
Yeah.
I think what they did here is they did some really clever things in regard to the directional cutting and the QuickTime events that you have to do. I know none of us are big fans of QuickTime events in our year of 2022.
Right.
But if you can successfully nail the QuickTime events when they happen, you can do a ton of damage to him in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
He has twice the health out of any other boss in the game.
Right.
But if you are good enough, oh no, what?
You just remind me, because he has 200% health instead of one, and there's one of his face, and it just says 200% mad. Go on, sorry.
No, it's all good. So I think I kind of like how they reward you for being able to play the game well by being able to take off those huge chunks of his health by completing those sequences. Now, I will say though, I did not know how to do directional cutting. I literally ran away from the debris.
Sure.
You can do that?
I tried. I ran away from one.
No, I did it successfully, but it was so hard.
I kept dying to that part, and I said, you know what? Can I just run away? Yes, I can. So I did that.
I keep trying to like impress upon people when they try this game is that you can actually take more time than you'd think when you're doing those moments. Where in those moments, I think you have to line up 5 different like squares, and you really you have to be on the money for all of them.
I couldn't do it, man. I kept running out of time too. But I did notice if you do it successfully, not only do you do damage to Armstrong, it also drops repair nano paste.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Yep.
So if you can do it, it's better off.
I think my last little point on Armstrong, when he talks about playing college ball, Raiden says probably at some cushy Ivy League school, and he says University of Texas. I'm not like those Beltway pansies. Man,
wait, I don't remember. Were they implying football or baseball? What were they implying?
I think they're implying football, right?
Yeah. He's got that kick.
You got that linebacker body, I guess.
What a guy. But very fitting that in the end, Raiden winds up literally ripping his heart out, ripping his cyborg heart out. And that is the end of the story. You kind of left with a cliffhanger about what Raiden will be up to next. I would like to get into the conclusive chapter, if that's all right with you, gents. Okay, so for me, this is a very mechanically robust game. Feels like it could have used some more scenarios that weren't just these linear action sequences you were talking about, running through level, fighting a bunch of guys,
very arcadey.
Yeah.
If it was broken up a little bit more, like there is actually a moment we skipped over where you control a little robot.
I was going to bring that up in my final thoughts. I love that guy.
More moments like that, I think, would have made the game a little bit more
interesting
for you. It's great.
A little bit more savory. I think it's thematically coherent in some ways, but the over the top, sometimes to the point of slapstick tone, makes it impossible to really take seriously the way I took Metal Gear seriously.
The security guard just reading the porno. That was so weird.
I forgot about that.
Very, very bizarre. I don't know if it was maybe a reference to, you can drop them in the previous games.
Oh, maybe.
But it was a weird moment. I don't know. Let's hear your guys' final thoughts before I tell you any more.
Want me to go first?
So what we should do is let's go Nick, Riley, and then me. Go ahead.
Okay.
We're not grading, right? This is just final thoughts.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think this game mechanically it worked. Like, and by a certain point in the game, I kind of got it, you know?
Yeah.
And I do like that it was short because I felt like if it was any longer, this game would have overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm glad it was only about 7-ish hours long.
Yeah.
Sure.
About the story and about everything that happens, I'm really like on your wavelength here, Riley. I thought they really touched on some very important themes. Like there's a lot of political, economic themes there. A lot of this game takes place in impoverished areas where they're doing heinous things to people.
Yeah.
And I think at its core, whether Platinum tried to do it or not, they really did have some critique of political climates, economic climates, anything like that. However, because this game is so over the top and at some points really stupid, I just couldn't take those very serious themes seriously.
I think at that point, I think that must have been where I think those are the Kojima ideas, maybe like the more serious stuff, and then you have goofy over the top insanity from Platinum, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
If Platinum wanted to get deeper into those themes, I think they could have. Yeah. But this game was just too silly for me to take those themes seriously.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll try to be as succinct as I can. So I did not like it very much. But I really like, what's the word for this? I really like teetered over the line here of when I first started playing this game, I said, oh my God, I don't really like these God of War DMC combat style games. Not my thing. You know, I don't really like, I have a little bit of a bias against Platinum game type of action games. Not my thing. But then when you start getting like the little bit of drip of RPG stuff and upgrading yourself, I said, you know, I kind of like it. I kind of get how the combat works, but it is very silly and I couldn't really take it seriously either. And I think what I really kind of teetered on that line, really kind of went back and forth on this game where I really don't know if I liked playing it or not. And I think when I got to the final boss, I said, okay, I don't really like this game, but it is really funny.
Right.
And I kind of like what they're trying to say. And it did entertain me, but I personally did not enjoy playing it. But Riley, I know this game probably means more to you personally than me. So why don't you maybe say a little more?
No, yeah, I pretty much, I've said most of what I have to say. I think at the time I was very disappointed in this game.
Really?
Yes, because it was not what they had initially kind of shown off of that Kojima Productions demo. Now I am sort of like, I like it more. But still not on the level, obviously, of Metal Gear Solid. I am going to very briefly read. Kojima wanted to write a sequel starring Gray Fox.
Okay.
The original Cyborg Ninja, in which he does battle with nanomachine-powered zombies. But Platinum did not appear interested. If they were to make a sequel to this game, what would you prefer they improve upon?
I actually think, I can't believe I'm saying this, I actually think this game would play better now than 10 years ago, because the kind of juice we have in games now, you could get all of the cutting and blood and gore if you want it. We've got memory up the ass.
Yeah.
You know, you can just run a game at a way higher. This is a 360 game, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, back then they were at the way limitations of that console.
Yeah.
I think you could really I don't really want it, but I think you could get it all in 2022 or 2023, where back then I don't think you could.
I think for me, I think they could maybe, if a tasteful developer had their hands on it, you could take another stab, if you'll pardon the pun, at that original concept of in between 2 and 4, showing how he became the Raiden that we know. Also, I would like to see a Gray Fox game because I think he's an awesome character, but I don't really have any interest in zombies.
No.
So,
and Nick, were you going to say something? You were giggling before we do grades. Why don't you? What were you saying?
When you said "get it all," I kind of heard that in Raiden's voice when you take the Gatorade from people.
Get it all.
Where he says like, "Get it all."
Is that what he says?
He says that sometimes.
I didn't even know what he was saying. That's really funny.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I want a sequel, but I agree with you though that I think modern consoles and systems
there's
would be able
the
to run
potential there, but I don't think the ideal version of this game would ever come out.
Well, I mean, think about it though. Like we've gotten games like Sekiro with very precise sword combat. Yeah. You've gotten just
super hot.
Yeah. These games where you can get it right down to the frame if you want. You guys want to do grades? I mean, I think in terms of what I've got to say, I think I'm all set. I'll start if you want. Sure. I mean, to me, I think it's like a C or C minus for me. Maybe a C, right, Nick?
I was very entertained playing this game, even though I didn't like playing it all that much. And I did, even though it sort of turned into a big joke, I did kind of like that there was some seriousness going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And obviously this game has a lot of staying power in form of memes.
Yeah. Some people fucking love this game too.
So, hey, that says a lot for it. I think at the end of the day though, I have to give it I think I'm going to go with you. I'm going to give it a C because I was entertained and laughing throughout.
I think I'd say straight C.
I'm saying C as well.
Riley, go ahead.
I give it a C+.
Okay.
So I think we're all pretty close. Maybe I'm a little bit more positive just out of sheer Metal Gear fandom. But no, I mean, I've said my piece. I think we've all given it a fair grade.
Yeah, so thank you guys. I never thought we would cover this one. But yeah, that's going to do it for Goddamn Gamecube, and we'll see you guys next time.